Boom.
All right, we're live.
We're live, baby. Episode number 4. This is going to be episode number 4 with Mr. Grant Howard. This is, I'm very excited for this, guys. And this is a long time coming because Grant and I go way back. Out of all the guests that I'm going to have over the next several weeks and several months, I've known Grant for like a decade, I want to say, or right around a decade, which is crazy. Which is crazy because realistically, Grant is actually the first person in my life that I was genuinely close to that started his own business. And we're going to dive into that in just a minute. But Grant, you're coming out of live from Tampa. I was just telling you a little bit about it. You just moved there. How do you feel about the life in Tampa compared to South Carolina?
It's good, man. I moved from Columbia probably about 6 months ago after my wife and I got married, Megan. And it's good, but as a business owner, there are a lot of distractions. So that's something I'm working on because in Columbia, South Carolina, there's not much to do. And I was like head down focused. And after 5 years of that, I'm like, kind of enjoying myself a little too much, which I'm sure, like comfort is probably like one of the worst things that can happen to you, but it's a constant battle. So, but I love it so far and big into the beach and fishing and stuff. So it's nice to put my head down, but enjoy some free time.
I feel like you've earned it, man. 5 years, you've been grinding longer than most people, you know what I mean? And you were young, you dropped out of college, which we'll dive in. You don't feel like you deserve a little bit of a breathing room, going fishing? I know you bought a boat too, right? Recently,
man. So. Yeah, we bought a little center console. It's tough, it's like the constant battle in an entrepreneur's like heart and mind. Like you just feel like you kind of have to be up and at it 24/7. And I don't know, I have a hard time relaxing, which I'm sure you can relate to. I feel like I constantly need to be doing something because, I don't think there's any such thing as plateauing in entrepreneurship. You're either going up or down. So when I'm not 100%. Going up, I feel like I'm going backwards. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to enjoy my time.
For sure. So let's dive in, man. Let's take this back 5 years ago, right? You went from Georgia, you moved to South Carolina to go to school down there. And talk to me about that transition because we were friends, but I remember like we kind of, once you leave the state, it's kind of, you're on your own at that point. And I was in Georgia, you were in South Carolina. Did you have intentions of actually like going through school and kind of going through the whole 9 to 5, get a job? Was that your whole intention? Did you know like, I'm probably going to do my own thing eventually?
I think I always knew I was going to do my own thing. I mean, I've always been, wanting to start stuff myself and doing little stuff in high school, pressure washing businesses, stuff like that. But, that's what parents tell you, adults tell you, go to college. It was never really a question. And my parents definitely didn't mean anything negative by it, but it was not, are you going to go to college, but where are you going to go to college? And so that's just kind of what I thought was normal. And, decided on University of South Carolina because of the business school and, went there and I did 3 years there and pretty much every year digressed in terms of grades and how much I cared. And by year number 3, we can go into like the details of it, but a long story short, by year number 3, grades were going down. I just did not care about it anymore. I really just couldn't do it. I knew it wasn't going to end with me graduating. I knew I was either going to quit or, get kicked out. And, luckily all my preparation for wanting to start a business, a great opportunity presented itself to get into the furniture business. And I pretty much dove in head first and dropped out.
Which I'm very curious because I think you've told me about how like that whole thing happened, but it's like the most random business ever, right? Because most people I'm interviewing are in digital marketing or in e-commerce, online businesses, not something that's relatively old school, right? Furniture. Yeah. Usually it's older people that own the warehouses. So I remember even hearing about it. I was like, dude, that's so random, but so cool because nobody's doing it. So I knew you were going to succeed as long as you guys put in the work because there's literally not many people doing it. So like, how did that idea come up? Because you were in school and you were dating Megan at the time too, right? When you guys kind of.
Yeah. Megan and I started it together. I mean, essentially it really just started with us seeing a, like farmhouse style table that someone had built. And we kind of just started doing it for fun. Rewind a little bit in college, wanting to get out, I was really looking a lot into digital marketing stuff, learning, just the basics. Like, I was starting Instagram accounts, trying to get followers to sell stuff on there. Started learning about all kind of digital marketing. And, that I kind of had that in my back pocket. So when we had this opportunity to, when we found a product that we thought could sell and we started making them and selling them, we kind of combined that with, everything I had learned about Facebook and Instagram and Facebook ads and, email marketing and stuff. And that's really, it's tough because I was trying to learn production and marketing, but the marketing side is really what I enjoy in the sales side because, I started off doing all the sales for the business and talking to customers, and then really realized marketing is my passion because it's really just sales on a big scale. So yeah, we saw a table that, a friend had made, and pretty much just decided one day. We woke up on a weekend and, I remember we wanted to build them and wanted to sell them and just kind of have that lingering, not wanting to start in the back of your mind. And I remember we woke up one day, we didn't have much to do. And I asked Megan, you want to go buy some tools and make one? And that's what we did. And yes, the rest is pretty much history.
So it was just a random idea. And like, you've always been a crafty person. So it just kind of came together like, hey, let's build furniture and let's see where it takes us. And yeah, like who was your first customer? Like who did you guys sell this to?
So what we did is we would build them and we would, paint them and put stain on them and stuff like that. We put them on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And the first one we made, we didn't sell for a long time because it just was not very good. So we just kept making more and selling them. And what we found was we were getting a lot of people interested, but basically it would be people reaching out saying, I really like this table you guys built, but it's too big for my space, or, the color's not going to work. So then we transitioned everything to custom work where we didn't have any stock inventory, anything like that. And basically we let the customer choose what style, color, size they want. And then we would build it from there, which also helps because you don't get, unnecessary inventory. It helps the profit margin a lot. And that is to this day what pretty much the business model is people go online.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that, Grant, is that you guys basically had an offer and the offer wasn't what the people wanted. So you guys you pivoted to a different offer in the same niche. And it's funny, we did the same thing when we were selling in chiropractors. We went from leads to providing leads to providing guaranteeing patients. Still chiropractic, it's still the same world, same Facebook ads. Yeah. But as soon as you do that and you speak what the market wants, because the market will tell you whether what you have is good or not. So that's cool, man. So you guys switched that and you still have that 5 years later, which is great. So you started selling that. And then at what point were you like, all right, well, this is getting kind of crazy. I don't think I can do this and school together. I got to do one or the other. What was that point like?
Yeah. So we started the business, and when I say started the business, I mean, we started building the tables in September of 2017. And then we filed our LLC paperwork in March of 2018.
Cool.
So, for the first 4 or 5 months, maybe we were making a few $1,000s a month, nothing crazy. I did quit my job in December of 2017. So 3 or 4 months later. And I remember Megan and I went on vacation in May of 2018. We went to St. Thomas. It's our favorite place to go. And while we were there, the orders just started exploding. And we did $10,000 that month, which back then was we were wow, we're rich. And school had ended a month before. And when I saw that $10,000 for the month, I was I just decided I'm not going to go back in the fall. And I think pretty much every month since then kind of, increased. So. And
for the listeners, I mean, it wasn't you guys started in May and then you guys made 10K. It was basically almost a year. You're starting in September.
Yeah.
Filed LLC in March. So it's literally almost a year. And then you got that, you started getting those orders and you're like, holy shit, this is real. Because
I mean, we were in school. Megan was working a job. I was working a job. it was really just something we were doing on the side. And, you know, like I said before, like we had to pivot like right off the bat. What we did right off the bat was not working. You know, we had to liquidate all these stock tables and stuff that we had spent money building because we realized that business model wouldn't work. So yeah, I mean, it took, let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. It took 8 months for us to hit $10,000. Yeah.
You know, and then once you hit 10,000, you're like, all right, well, now I want to go all in on this, spend the summer to figure that out, because worst case scenario, you can go back to school, which is cool. Cause I'm sure it's the same thing for me. Like I had a plan B. I could just go back to school. Shit didn't work out. Where you have, in my opinion, you have the 20 till 30 age to kind of fall on your face, because you can always go to school. Even at the age of 28, 29, you can go to school. You can, like, people, that's very common. So you guys started it. So like now it's actually the first segment that I want to go into is like your first hire. You know, I talked to you about the second segment, but the first segment is your first hire. So for a while, I'm sure it was just you and Megan, but who was your first hire? Where did you get them from? What was that like?
So so when we started the business, we actually lived in an apartment. So not really great for building stuff. So we were doing it on my sister's back porch because she was at college at USC as well. And she lived in a house, and she let us build everything on the back porch. You know, once we got out of our lease in our apartment, we decided to go to a house with a garage, and our roommate actually ended up being our first hire. He worked for us for quite a while. I mean, basically until he finished college, and then he, you know, went on and got a marketing job. But yeah, he was our first one.
What was his job?
He was helping us build stuff. I mean, back then it was, you know, there were no sales marketing jobs in the company. There was nothing behind a desk. It was all, you know, we were manufacturing. Basically. Yeah.
During that summer and like entering, you know, Q3, you know, in business terms, in school terms, it's fall, right?
Yeah.
What was your number one like income source in terms of, I should say, your like, where were your sales coming from? Was it like word of mouth? Were you guys spending money on ads already?
So are you talking about after that 10K month or before that?
Yeah. After the 10K.
Yeah. So I think we started, so before the 10K month, it was all organic. It was all, you know, not organic, but Craigslist. It was nothing paid. Summer 2018, we started really diving into Facebook and Facebook ads.
Got it. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. So you were making money, and was it all just purely word of mouth before, or just people buying and then they were spreading the word?
Before, no, it was mostly like, I mean, there was some word of mouth, but it was mostly Craigslist, you know, just posting stuff up there that, hey, this is our company. We do custom stuff. And we actually got like quite a bit of sales from Craigslist and, you know, Facebook Marketplace. Cool.
Yeah. So then you got into Facebook ads. What was your like budget? What did you start out with? Because I'm sure it's like scary to invest in something you've never done.
Yeah. I mean, I think when we first started, you know, I was like hesitant to throw like $20 at an ad. This was in 2018. So Facebook ads, you know, nothing will happen with $20 now. But we were just doing, you know, not even so much. I mean, it was very, very entry level compared to now. Not even budget wise, but obviously just, you know, me learning, getting started. I think it really started with me posting stuff about us on our Facebook page. We, you know, started growing our Facebook page, and the little boost ad or boost post button is what I started using. And I'd spend like $20 on that. And I really would just show it to all of our Facebook followers and stuff like that. And really just kind of, you know, I considered them like warmer leads. So, you know, try and offer them value. And we did like little giveaways and stuff like that. But yeah, it mainly started pretty simple. Like, I don't know, maybe $20 a week is what we were spending.
Wow. Yeah. That's literally impossible today, which is so funny. So at what point did you guys feel like, okay, we got to get a warehouse? Cause I'm sure, you know, your sister was like, you guys got to get the shit out of here.
Yeah. So when we moved out of our apartment, we moved into a house with a 600 or 700 square foot garage. And so
Okay.
we were pumped about that, which it was tiny. It was like, I'm like 5'8", but if you're like 2 inches taller than me, you could not stand up in this garage.
Yeah.
But we just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And, we ran the business in there for
Wow.
probably like 4 months, like nothing. It was so quick. And, we just packed it full of furniture. And after about 4 months of being there, we went and got our first warehouse. It was about 1,800 square feet.
Yeah, that must have felt like, okay, we're doing big things. And if I remember correctly,
being scary.
Yeah, and you guys were mostly or just delivering to South, right? Like just South Carolina, North Carolina, or was it also Georgia, Florida, Tennessee?
Yeah, back then it was mostly just South Carolina, and then like Charlotte, which is like an hour and a half from Columbia, and maybe we'd go over to Augusta, but basically just South Carolina.
So this is going to be an interesting question. If you can go back to that 2018, 2019, whenever you guys, what would you do differently? What would you have done differently from the get-go?
I think I would have maybe focused a little more of my time on the marketing and sales aspect of the business, and really, really tried to not necessarily outsource, but work with someone who knew a lot more than I did about production. Because I was trying to learn everything. I was trying to learn every single aspect of the business: sales, marketing, how to, I mean, it's not manufacturing, especially not back then. It was so small scale, but essentially manufacture. How do we manufacture in the US? How do we, hire people? How do we do payroll? Do I do a 1099? Do I do a W-2? How do we make sure we're paying our taxes? Because, I want to obviously keep as much money as I can, but I don't want to, get in trouble. So, how do I do my accounting? And I was just trying to learn everything. And I think it's really important, if you're going to stay, dedicated and motivated in your business, that you really, really focus on what you love and what you enjoy, and you let other people who are better than you focus on the other aspects. And I don't dislike production, but my heart and soul of the business is the sales and the marketing. I love the, funnel aspect of online. And I think just hiring, I mean, we didn't have a ton of money back then, but I think hiring someone who knew more about the production aspect would be the biggest advice I could give myself.
Yeah, you're also 2021, so like outsourcing is not even like you probably didn't even think about that. You were just like, I got to do everything from the start. I got to be top to bottom. So like that's a really good answer. It's partially what our company does is help people with outsourcing work that they don't want to do, nor do they want to pay someone in the US to do the same job for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% less. And sometimes even better work. Gotcha. So moved into the warehouse, things started growing, started scaling. And do you remember 2019 pre-COVID, what was your biggest month? The one that you were like, whoa, we're off to the races.
2019. Yeah, I want to say in 2019, maybe we were doing, so we kind of fast forward a little bit because we started opening up more warehouses. But I want to say in 2019, we were doing maybe 30, 40,000 a month. Awesome. So it was good, awesome. But nothing crazy.
Still, for a new business that you guys started in your garage, you know what I mean? Awesome. It's crazy to think about it. It's wild because, Grant's one of the most humble people I've ever met, because he doesn't realize how wild it is to do what we're doing on a regular basis, making multi-six figures up to 7 and 8 figures in the future. But most people can't even fathom doing 1% of what we do. And you and me, Grant, we always look at people that are so much further ahead, and we feel like we're behind. But in reality, we're more ahead than 95% of the world, right? So it's you have to look at it both ways, because it is pretty wild. So let's talk about COVID.
I think I have a tough time, with really comparing. I mean, I don't compare myself to other people that much, but I think as entrepreneurs, we're going to always compare. The biggest battle we're in is with ourselves. So I just try I try to be humble about stuff, because if I'm doing a certain amount a month, it's in competition with myself. I want to do more next month. So
you're the definition of you hate losing more than you love winning.
Yeah.
100%. I've known that forever. So talk to me about COVID, man, because I know that was a huge shift in all businesses. And how did that impact your business? Because, that we're talking about March, April 2020 now, fast forward a couple of years. You guys have been doing this for a while. You've been out of school for 2 years. Your staff has grown, I'm assuming. And boom, COVID hits. What happens?
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite stories about COVID because it was actually one of like the best things for our businesses. As terrible as it was, I wish it never happened in the first place. But it's a really important lesson for us about how a business should pivot, I think. And not that I know everything. I do not. It's just a decision that I made. But when COVID started in March of 2020, I just remember being terrified. And thinking, I do not want to be the employer to fire people. I do not want to be the company that goes under during this. And I remember reading all this marketing stuff because I was still am, the main marketer of the business and doing the Facebook ads and the email marketing and everything. And I remember reading about how much money companies had pulled off the table in terms of marketing during COVID. And all these businesses were scared, and to save money, they were going to stop spending so much on marketing. And I remember thinking how cheap Facebook ads were about to get because of how low competition was. So I think March of 2020, April of 2020, February of 2020, we maybe did like $125,000 in that month. And that's about what we were doing since the start of 2020. And I just decided, the only way I see us getting through this is I'm going to double our Facebook ad spend right now. And ads are going to get cheap, and we're going to just take a risk and we're going to double it. And since we're an online business, I think mixed with the fact that the ads were cheaper, it was just cheaper to get in front of people, we completely doubled our sales. And that was a huge pivot for us because we have never gone back to those pre-2020 numbers since then. And it really taught me a lesson about it is really scary to go from $15,000 a month in ad spend to $30,000 a month in ad spend. It's a big jump to make. But it really just taught me if you have the systems down with Facebook ads, it is very, very scalable. And we just jumped for it. And 2020 was the fastest growing year for us by far.
That's amazing. So I'm assuming with doubling your ad spend, you got your return and more that you were expecting pretty fast, right? Because it wasn't like a delay. It was, we doubled and our business basically doubled.
Yeah, by end of March, I think that was beginning of March. So by end of March, April, we had doubled revenue.
Which is insane. We're talking about 250 to 300K a month, which is wild because in 2 years, you went from in May 2018, making your first 10K to 2 years later doing 300K per month. Wow. That's pretty surreal, bro. Just looking back at it. That's amazing. So I love that. That's a huge tip, man, right there. Like doubling down when everybody's fearful, right? We talk about this all the time in our text messages with stocks and all that. And with how much money we all lost with crypto and stocks, it's crazy because if we, literally look at it as silly investors versus business people, we should be just smarter with that. But that's a separate segment. So in 2020, you've already added a few, during that COVID crazy year, you've already added more warehouses, you said?
Yeah. So that's important. We skipped past a good bit of that, but I believe it was 2019. It was 2019 that we opened our second warehouse. And basically how that started was I just had someone that I knew from college, a guy who lived in my dorm. He had moved up to Colorado, and he, kind of tried to start doing the same thing we were doing. And he was really good at the building side of stuff and really knew how to make a great product, but he couldn't sell it. And again, that's my expertise. So he kind of called me and wanted to pick my brain about what I was doing. And of course, as an entrepreneur, I see an opportunity and I'm like, what do you say we just open you up out there as a, branch of our business? You can get paid part of profits depending on how much we sell out there. We'll give you all of our products and schematics and everything of how to make them. and that pretty much is how it started. And Ellen did pretty well, and we've kind of we've pivoted the Colorado location a lot since then. But that's pretty much how opening the other location started. And then end of 2019, we opened up here in Florida.
So that's number 3. That was number 3 in Florida?
Florida was number 3. And then Texas, we opened up last year, and that's number 4. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like what started out of literally in your own house to your sister's dorm or your sister's house to your garage to 4. How many warehouses are you guys now at with
4?
4. So 4. So Texas, Florida, Denver, and 1 in South Carolina still.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, which is so awesome. I'm going to have Matt on here in the future talking about the Denver location because it's super cool to see, because it is different from, I don't know the details, but I know it's not the same, operates the same as the South Carolina one whatsoever. But
yeah, I know you want to talk a lot about, hiring the right people, and that, Colorado location with that initial manager guy that I knew, it just didn't work out with him. We just kind of didn't have the same vision for the company. And so we parted ways with him probably about a year after we started up there. And then Matt, who's my friend from college, was really into what we were doing, and he kind of worked for us in South Carolina in college. And we decided he wanted to move up there anyway. And he moved up there, actually got a 9-to-5 and started doing the business kind of on the side. And then he ended up quitting his and does it full time now. So it really is important to hire the right people because, same processes, tweaked a little bit. Obviously, we're always going to be growing, but same processes, same product, and, that manager, that right person there, overseeing everything made the difference between everyone up there hating us and all the customers being pissed to now, our reputation up there is amazing and people love the products that they're getting.
Amazing. I actually that's a really good segment. So like, what is your interview process like? And even on top of that, where have you found people besides like your roommates and kind of, I think Matt and Steven, I believe was his name, right? Your old roommate too.
Yeah.
That just kind of fell into your lap. That's lucky, but you can't scale business with lucky hirings, right? Where did your people come from that were not roommates or college kids? Where did you find them from?
We found people from Indeed, and then we've also gotten a lot of references. And then obviously, we have our virtual assistant, Chris Ann from Fava, who we love.
Awesome.
I mean, it's like, as such a small business, it's really, I guess, not a normal way of hiring because I've hired so many of my friends, which, there's countless people who say that's not a good idea. And I don't know, I'm young. Maybe I just haven't seen where it's going to bite me in the ass yet. But
you got
for me
lucky.
As a small business, as a small business, I'm trusting people with, bank accounts and, not spending money. Like, I just trust is the most important thing for me. And obviously they have to, be capable of doing the job. But if I have a friend who I know I can trust and I know is capable of doing it, I just think that's a better roll of the dice than, some random person. Yeah. For me, at least. And again, maybe we'll see, Matt is like literally one of my best friends. He runs a Colorado branch. He was one of my groomsmen at my wedding. But Matt and I have this, we have a deal with each other where we say, we are friends, but we are also business partners. And, I don't want you to ever get to the point where if I call you and I have to tell you how it is, you take that personally. When we talk business, and our friendship comes first. But if one day it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. When I got to call you or when he has to call me and tell me, hey, I need you to figure this shit out, especially with marketing, get it together, figure it out. We need more sales, or I need to tell him, Matt, you got to get production out, figure it out. It's not personal at all. And that is a unique thing. I mean, that's not something that you can have with everyone, but luckily with Matt, it is something that, we've been able to do together.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. And I agree, bro. I've hired like 12 of our friends, 10 to 12 of our friends. I got them jobs, not my companies, but people that trust me and my reputation. And the biggest thing is like, you got to take a risk on people that you feel like are worth it, because worst case scenario doesn't work out. And then they just, it's not like I hit home runs with everybody. There's a few friends that I helped out and within a month they weren't there anymore. So it is what it is.
I guess I should mention too, one of the biggest hires I've made, we're talking about hiring friends and stuff and how unorthodox our hiring methods are. My dad is the manager of our Florida location.
Amazing.
So back in 2019, when we wanted to open up in Florida, he was just kind of at a transitioning point and he wanted to move to Florida, and, we wanted to open up and we talked about it, and he has been definitely one of the best people that we've hired. I mean, he just really like keeps me sane when things are going wrong. And, we also have a good, we have a great, father-son connection, but we also, it's good that we can separate that out for work. And luckily it's worked out. Again, I luckily have not been in a position where I've hired, my father and he's been like terrible, and that would be awful. But so I have gotten lucky with that. But I mean, it's
cool, man.
Been really fun.
Your dad's a great person, and he was a great dad to you first, because I think that's where it starts. That's where relationship starts, and then obviously trusting it. But it's wild because you did what everybody told you not to do, in a sense, the business world.
Yeah.
Don't hire your friends. Don't hire your family members. And you're like, I'm gonna hire my dad. I'm gonna hire my best friend. And it's cool because at the end of the day it works. And I think it depends on you as a person. Like, I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, like, they hired their friends. Hugh Hefner, another one. Like, he started businesses with your friends. If you're disciplined, you find the right people. We all know we went to high school with people, bro. If you started this thing with some of your friends from high school, you probably wouldn't be here today. So I think everything happens for a reason. I am wondering, like, when things don't work out, right? We're talking about, your dad working out, Matt, your first roommate, obviously, your wife now, all of that stuff, like, worked out amazing. Talk to me when things don't work out. Like, you hire someone and they just don't work out. They show up late. They're bad culture fit. What's your process of firing them and actually, like, not, cutting them from the team, essentially?
Yeah. So that's definitely one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur, and especially doing what we do. But the biggest fire that I've made recently would be our old South Carolina manager. He was there for about a year, and he was a great guy. Great guy to go get a beer with, and really started off the job doing well, and then just kind of, it really just wasn't a good fit for him. Which, again, he's a great guy, nothing personal against him. It just was not a good fit. I did not know him prior. We found him on Indeed, brought him aboard in 2020, and then let him go just in November of last year. And it was tough. I mean, I definitely learned a lot from it. I think I let things go a little too long. I try and give people leeway in this business, and let them kind of run things as long as they're following processes. Let them kind of run things how they see fit as a manager. And I've kind of learned that, I have to be a little more strict on that, and really I have to be the one to create the culture in the company, and I have to be the one to make sure that things are being followed step by step. 100%. And I think a lot of it was my fault. I just created a culture of, they could change a little thing, and then they change one little thing, and then one little thing gets changed. So I think off the bat, it was my fault, but then, trying to be a strict boss and go in and say, we're done with this, and then not having what I'm saying being followed, it was just time for a change. So yeah, we let him go in November. He was with us for a year. And now we've moved on to a manager who was a reference actually from Matt. And he's been fantastic so far. So, it is a tough job. It's a very interesting job, essentially manufacturing in the US. So it takes someone who really knows how to problem solve and, really is wearing a lot of hats every single day. So did
you hire the manager off the bat, or do you ever give people internally an opportunity to level up to manage a role?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to hire from, promote from within. It's been a little bit tough and we have promoted people from within, but in terms of a manager for that location, there just wasn't anyone who I saw fit at the time. So it's definitely something I would love to do because, again, for me, trust is one of the most important things. And bringing someone in, you know, I've tried doing, when I hire people that I don't know, try doing 2 interviews. I've tried doing 4 interviews. I've tried doing, you know, 4 interviews and references. And you can do all that. That's wonderful. But unfortunately, you just really don't know what you're getting until you throw them into that position, give them good training, and then see how they're going to do. And I think Tony Robbins says it best. I think it's Tony Robbins who says, it's not the person you hire who ruins your business, but the one you fail to fire. And that really hit me hard when things were going south with the South Carolina location, because I knew that it was going to be tough and it was going to be a lot of work on my end to, you know, have to fire this person who's taking care of so much of the business that if he's not there, I'm going to have to do it myself. And again, you seek comfort sometimes and you go, well, it'll just be easier to keep him than to, you know, fire him and deal with him. And, you know, overall, I'm so happy that I did because it's really, you know, helped the business out a lot. But yeah, so I think don't be afraid to let people go who aren't working out, because ultimately, like I said, in terms of that South Carolina manager, it just wasn't a good fit. There's nothing else it really comes down to. And I think, you know, we're both happier, you know, not working with each other anymore. So
I got you.
I think it's best for them too.
It's the hardest thing in the world, man. And there's no way of doing it right, but really there's the best way to do it. And I tell people, if you fire someone and they're shocked, they are like, what? You're firing me? This is crazy. Then you did a terrible job at leading them. You led them on the wrong way. They should be like, I kind of saw this coming, honestly. I didn't do a good job. The culture fit, whatever. I've been in jobs in the last couple of years where we fired people, you know, they weren't a good fit, but it was a shocking fire. And I think shocking fires, the same thing. What you just said about Tony Robbins, Gary Vee says, hire slow, fire fast. Right. And that, I think, as entrepreneurs, you're right. Like it's hard to build trust, especially with a stranger. And then you have to build trust again, and you have to find the right people. And it's like this it feels like an endless paradigm. But I want to go into the segment before we close this out, and this is the hire fire segment. And basically I have 5 examples of people that they're candidates, right? I just wrote down 5 examples, and by fire, I mean, you're not going to hire them in the first place. So if the first person is, let's just say it's a young lady, great culture fit, she meshes with you, she meshes with, let's just say she's going to the Florida location with your dad, meshes with your dad, Megan loves her, but she has literally 0 experience and skill, like knows nothing about the manufacturing world, nothing about tables. Is that someone that you would give a chance to, or do you think it's like not a good fit right now?
That's tough, man. That's actually a really tough question, because my philosophy has been, you know, culture and, you know, trust and everything have been more important. But in terms of manufacturing, where we are right now, I think I would probably fire and hold out to find someone who hopefully has all of that and some manufacturing or production experience, because it's just, to me, I'm biased because I've been doing it so long now. So it seems easier than it is. Just like, you know, what you're doing seems easier to you than it is. But it is tough. It is really tough to train people on logistics and production. And I think at where we're at right this second, I would probably fire. But if you asked me that a year ago, I think I would have said hire.
Interesting. What about the flip side? Let's say you found someone that has 10 years experience, double the amount that you have, understands manufacturing all across the country, but even specifically, he's been doing it for years inside of Florida, but he's not a great culture fit. He doesn't really mesh with you and your dad that much. He's maybe an older guy than you guys, so he thinks he has everything that you guys want, but his experience and skill plummet anyone in your company by far.
I think where we're at right now, I would hire, and I don't need everyone to get along with me. I just need people to respect me as the owner, and I need people to respect their higher ups. I'm more than, like, my philosophy in entrepreneurship is always defer to the person who knows more than you about something. There's 0 way to grow if you don't. So I would definitely at least give someone like that a try. We don't have to be best friends. We don't have to get a beer together after work. You know, we don't have to go to cookouts together. We don't have to go fishing together. We just need to be able to respect each other in business. So, you know, it is tough not having people who fit the culture. And I don't necessarily know if that works long term. I think they kind of have to, you know, start to figure it out a little bit. But, you know, I'm always open to learning from people who know more than me. So I think I would hire and try that person out.
That just shows the lack of ego you have in the space, man, because most people don't want to hire someone who's not a culture fit because they're scared. They're scared they might overtake them or, you know, whatever the case is. But okay, cool. Let's do a couple more. If someone comes highly recommended to you, right? Like maybe not by Matt or your dad, but someone for you trust in your company, right? You said trust is one of the most important things. They come highly recommended, but the interview process, the interviews, let's say you took 2 or 3 interview processes, were super underwhelming. You're like, this is not the person I want, but you have someone in your company that's vouching for this person. How would you feel about that? Is this a hire or fire?
I guess it would really, really depend who in the company is vouching for them because, you know, we do have a hierarchy in the company. And, you know, if someone like my dad or Matt was vouching for them, I'd probably hire them. But if someone, you know, a little bit who hadn't been with us for as long or was doing more of a lower level job to start, vouch for them, you know, no disrespect against them, but, you know, we do have more part-time positions. So not everyone is, you know, super high up in the business. So yeah, I would say it depends. It would depend who recommended them.
Okay, cool. Last but not least, let's just say you have an 18-year-old kid, but he dropped out of high school, but his family is in the manufacturing business. You know, he grew up with it. He knows a little bit, probably more than you did when you started with it back in 2017, 2018. But he dropped out of high school and he couldn't finish high school. Bad grades, you know, not the most disciplined kid. Hire?
Bring him on.
Let's
go. You know
go.
why? I love people who are hungry. I love people who are hungry, man.
Yes.
Bring them on, give them a try. I mean, we have so many different types of positions. Like I said, there's part-time stuff. Yeah. You know, you can be working in the warehouse. You can be doing sales. You can be doing customer service. Bring that kid on. I like hungry people, man. I like people who need to succeed. Yeah, I don't want someone with $2 million in the bank. Because as soon as it gets tough, you're gone.
I love that. I love that. We're the very last segment, Grant, that I want to finish this off with is, could you touch base on this a little bit? But it's if you were to give advice to someone in 2022, they want to start a business, they want to get into the online world or the manufacturing world, what are the most important skills that they should learn based on your experiences?
Sales and marketing, 100%. The way to start a business is just, you know, success is preparation meets opportunity. So you need to prepare yourself. You need to learn marketing, learn sales, you know, seek different opportunities for, you know, what products you could sell, what services you could sell. And if you can learn how to sell a product or a service and you can get good at it, you can start a business because all you're doing is scaling that up. So, you know, learn how to sell it, make sure there's a market for the product or service. You learn how to market it and sell it. And then you're just going to train other people to do the same thing and you're going to scale it up.
I love it. Sales and marketing. Grant Howard. That was fast. I feel like we could have had another 2 hours, but I told myself I'm going to do this for 40 to 45 minutes. You hit all the nails, exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to tag you on all the posts so people can follow your journey. And I told Grant he needs to become more of a influencer. I'm going
to become more active on social media. I don't know. I just like to keep, just at this point in my life, I like to keep it a little low key, but maybe that'll change. You know, I want to, you know, I'd love to start mentoring someone. I know in college I felt lost. So anyone who has any questions for me, if you want to do something similar, I mean, if you want to start the same exact kind of business, competition does not scare me. Reach out. You know, I'll give you whatever pointers I can. So
I've seen Grant break down his business for hours with like older people. And I'm like, dude, this guy's sharing his entire business plan and you don't hold back. You're literally giving people everything.
You're not gonna outwork me. You might outwork me, Amir, but I know that most people are not.
Yeah. And it's not even outworking. it's long term, right? So people might work you for like a few days, and then 3 years from now, you're still working.
You're not gonna deal with the shit that I've dealt with. I'll put it that way.
For sure, and that's what we're gonna end with. Grant Howard, I appreciate you. Episode 4, Hire Fire. It's a pleasure, brother.
Omir, had so much fun, man. If you want to do a 3-hour one sometime, let me know.
For sure, we'll do it in person next time, guys.
Sounds good, man.
Episode 4.